Does it cost $20 million to win a national championship? Let's talk about why that number keeps popping up, especially as it relates to Ohio State, and whether or not it's true. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching the number one college football show, or you are a returning viewer and you have not subscribed, I'm going to ask you to do that and ring the bell if you don't want to miss any of the segments that we upload here to the show, and join our 130,000 members who really enjoy talking college football 24/7, 365. That's what we do. And join the conversation in the comment section. Answer the question below. Do you care that Ohio State seemed to have spent $20 million on its football roster? Do you care about why we're talking about it? And do you think it's going to take that much money to go win one in 2025? Backstory on this is we know the number 20 million because new athletic director Ross Bjork, who, by the way, got a national championship in year one at Ohio State, was at Big Ten Media Days and was in conversation with Ross Dellinger, who is great at Yahoo Sports. And he told him, they spent about $20 million in name, image, and likeness across the collectives to secure their 2024 roster. And already, people have had opinions about this, and Ohio State fans have been really defensive about it for a number of reasons. It's not because they're shy about the $20 million. It's because the thought is that they spent $20 million on guys like Caleb Downs and Quinshon Judkins and Will Howard, and not guys like Ime Ibuka, Jack Sawyer, JT Tuimoloau, Cody Simon, Jordan Hancock, Denzel Burke, Lathan Ransom, Travion Henderson. Like, we could keep going on. Donovan Jackson. We could go down the list of all the guys that returned to Ohio State and could have gone to the NFL, but decided not to. We also do need to acknowledge that Caleb Downs, Will Howard, and Quinshon Judkins were pivotal to winning the national championship in 2024. Nobody at Ohio State would say differently. The other part about this is Ohio State has won a national championship. They did not cheat to do it. It's like Michigan seemed to. But it feels like they pushed the rules as far as they could go, where there was a market inefficiency to exploit, which I call playing the game. That's it. That's within the rules. If it ain't against the rules, it's within the rules, okay? At this particular juncture, we did not have a cap. We didn't say you can only spend this amount of money on your football roster or even on your athletic departments, because we had not gotten to the settlement that is House versus the NCAA, which is going to lead to this year a cap of $20.5 million thereabouts that you can spend across your entire athletic department. And that includes Title IX sports, where you better do your due diligence and you better make sure that everybody's getting paid a fair market value there. Otherwise, you're going to get sued. You might get sued anyway. But that being said, there's no amount of money that could cap. In many ways, it's like kind of like Major League Baseball. We can spend whatever we want. If we got the money to spend it, we will. So if we want to have the richest roster in all of football, nobody's going to stop us. I think what gets lost in this is, A, Ohio State had an athletic director go on the record with this number, which is not something you usually see or hear. And B, you've had scuttle across college football about teams spending more, notably Oregon. Dan Lanning's Oregon. The number that keeps being thrown at me is $23 million. It's a little bit more than what Ohio State has spent, if that's what they spend. And it's not out of the realm of possibility, and it's not that hard to believe, given that Oregon is the favorite university of alumnus Phil Knight. Phil Knight, who owns Nike and who has wanted a national championship football team from the moment he could afford to start paying for new uniforms. And don't nobody like new uniforms, quite like Oregon likes new uniforms. I think it has galled him to no end that Oregon has not won a national championship yet. They're probably going to. They're very close to doing what they want to do. But getting the first one's always going to be difficult. I tell people when they're starting YouTube channels, getting the first 100 subscribers to this show was the hardest 100 subscribers that I've ever had to get in my life. Getting the first 1,000 subscribers to this show felt impossible. Impossible, I tell you. And getting 10,000 people to subscribe to this show felt like it would never friggin' happen. But the only way that it does is if you continue to grind and you continue to try to make stuff that people appreciate. And not everybody's going to like the things that you make. As a matter of fact, You're going to find more people that are vocal about them not liking the thing you make than people that are vocal about them liking the thing you make, which is why I'm going to remind everybody positive reinforcement really is important, because if all you hear is negativity, that's all you're going to consume. You're not going to hear any of the people that really value the thing that you're making because they don't feel like they need to tell you that. They feel like you must know it because they're watching the show silently or whatnot. I always take that into account. People say nice things about me and the show on the channel. It's great. Every now and again, I get to meet people out in the world who recognize me, and it's great. But that part of it is also important, right? That community, what we're sharing here. I think looking at Oregon, you would also look at Boone Pickens, who, when he was still with us on this mortal coil, got Oklahoma State running in the right direction simply by going, I will give you the money to give a new stadium. How about that? Put my name on it. Cool. Boone Pickens, right? I will give you new money for uniforms. And then Oklahoma State joined Oregon in the uniform wars and the facility wars and made Mike Gundy this stupid contract that's to roll over every 5 years to keep him in the spot because they kept getting closer. In 2011, they were this close to playing for the national championship. All they got to do is beat Iowa State, and they couldn't get that done. All to say, people have been spending all sorts of money, perhaps too much money, on college football since this day we started playing. That was 156 years ago in 1869 when Princeton and Rutgers decided they wanted to get into a fist fight. That was football. We've been doing it. We've been paying players at the Ivy Leagues since the turn of the 20th century. We've had players that would play on 3 different teams in the same day because they were getting paid to do it. This is not a new concept. It was never a new concept. The bag man has been around since the 1900s. The bag man became a debonair person in the 70s and 80s. Bill Yeoman handed out envelopes full of cash to the University of Houston football players. Eric Dickerson went to Texas A&M ostensibly to go play football there, but no, it was to pick up the Trans Am that they had promised him for going to A&M, and he drove that mug back to Southern Methodist. The absolute gall and chutzpah it took to do that. My gosh. But even so, right, we say you broke the rules here, so they got the death penalty. Okay? Whenever you break a rule like this, my God, Lord forbid you sell your gold pants for some tattoos, and that proceeds to a postseason ban that affects an undefeated Ohio State team in 2012 that probably should have played for and probably would have won the national championship game because they were undefeated. Grow up, I guess is the point about this, right? It's grow up. People spend money on the things they want to spend money on, and you are worth what someone is willing to pay you. Okay? I think Ohio State has caught a bad rep for the $20 million because they got it and you don't. If Boise State had it to spend, they'd spend it, all right? If Colorado State had it to spend, they'd spend it, all right? If you are broke and this is too rich for you, that's not the sin that you think it is, dog. It's okay to spend within your means. What's not okay is for you to be envious and jealous about somebody else who just got it better than you. I am from the backbone of go get it or don't play with them. Either you want to be in this fist fight or you don't. And you will recognize the advantages that you have and the disadvantages you have, and you will play in that sort of way. Nobody at Iowa is screaming that they want to win a national championship. Nobody. Would they like to have one? Sure. What they want is to win 8, 9, 10, 11 games every single year. They want to be good at football. They want to contend for the Big Ten championship. They would like to play in a New Year's Six bowl game. But the thing that makes Iowa football go is that they're always good and they're never awful. Even when they're bad offensively, they're not an awful football team. They're going to win more games than they lose. That's what's been true in the Kirk Ferentz era. It's a recipe that only works if you are living within your means. And Iowa is a great example of a team that lives within its means. It doesn't push for national championships. It doesn't even push for Big Ten championships. It pushes to go to a valuable bowl game. Okay? And because that is what they are committed to doing at the University of Iowa, when a Caitlin Clark comes along, it's found money. But it doesn't break them in half if Caitlin Clark decides to go to the WNBA or decides to transfer. Because Iowa women's basketball had a moment. And it might still have a moment, right? That rising tide can continue to lift the boats that come after. But that's my point here, is you want the floor to always be high. And at Ohio State, what I think is really making people upset is that the floor is considerably higher in Columbus than it is almost anywhere else. And rather than say $20 million is what it's going to take to win a national championship. First, ask yourself, do you have it? And if you have it, did you spend it? I'm pretty sure there's at least 6 teams out here that spent that and then some who ain't winning a national championship. Are you willing to go do it again? Are you willing to do what Florida State did, which is spend $2 million on a defensive line, $10 million on offense, and be one of the worst football teams in the entire country? Are you willing to do what Ole Miss did, which is sell out, literally go get as many playmakers as you possibly can on both sides of the football and not make either the SEC championship game or the college football playoff, and then do it again? If you are unwilling, if you ain't got the heart of a wildcatter to say, hey, that's a nice plot of land you got there. Mind if I dig a hole in there? There might be some gas underneath, and I might also lose my shirt and everybody's shirt that I love. Then this ain't for you. This ain't for you. If you can't wear that on your chest, then don't do that. I applaud anybody who is willing to step in the arena, put their money where their mouth is, and then lose. Some would call that a fool, and that person certainly can be foolish. Some can call that brave. It just depends on whether or not the dice roll your way.